I'm continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. We have just finished reading the dedication ceremony for the Temple of Solomon. This was covered in First Kings chapter 8 and 2 Chronicles chapters 5, 6, and 7. So we are back in 1 Kings. This is chapter 9. The Lord again appears to Solomon. The Lord promises great blessings if Israel is obedient, and great cursings if they forsake him. Solomon reigns in splendor, levies tribute upon the non-Israelites, and builds a navy of ships. And it came to pass, when Solomon had finished the building of the house of the Lord and the king's house, and all Solomon's desire which he was pleased to do, that the Lord appeared to Solomon the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. And the Lord said unto him, I have heard thy prayer and thy supplication that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed this house which thou hast built, to put my name there forever. And mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually. And if thou wilt walk before me, as David thy father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded thee, and wilt keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Israel forever, as I promised to David thy father, saying, There shall not fail thee a man upon the throne of Israel. But if ye shall at all turn from following me, ye or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight. And Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. And at this house which is high, every one that passeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss. And they shall say, Why hath the Lord done thus unto this land and to this house? And they shall answer, Because they forsook the Lord their God, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them, and served them. Therefore hath the Lord brought upon them all this evil. Let us pause a moment here. This is the same message that God gives to Solomon in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, which we have recently read. So, recall in my introduction of Kings, or my discussion of the book of Kings, that this is what these books are written for, to demonstrate man's relationship with God and how obedience brings blessings and disobedience cursings. And remember, this is it. It's if you are faithful, you will remain king, and your family will remain king as long as they are faithful. But if you rebel, if you turn to wickedness, then you will be thrust out. Your kingdom will be undone. And even the presence of the temple, it is a great protection for us if we are faithful, if we are righteous and following the commandments of God. But if we turn away from God, then not even the temple will protect us. But, just let us continue. Let us finish this out. This is back in verse 10. And it came to pass at the end of 20 years, when Solomon had built the two houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house. Now Hiram, the king of Tyre, had furnished Solomon with cedar trees and fir trees, and with gold according to all his desire, that when King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities, that then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. And Hiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him, and they pleased him not. And he said, What cities are these which thou hast given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul unto this day. And Hiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold. So Kabul means displeasing or dirty. So he gave him 20 cities, but they were not very good. They weren't cities that were going to produce much of anything. Might have even been abandoned cities, ghost towns. We don't know. It's just they weren't any good. And Hiram's like, wait a minute, I give you all this material, I help you out in the work, and this is the thanks I get? Come on. Anyways, verse 15. And this is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised, for to build the house of the Lord, and his own house, and Milo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. For Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up and taken Gezer, and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanites that dwelt in the city, and given it for a present unto his daughter, Solomon's wife. And Solomon built Gezer, and Beth-horon, the nether, and Baalath, and Tadmor in the wilderness in the land, and all the cities of store that Solomon had, and cities for his chariots, and cities for his horsemen, and that which Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. And all the people that were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which were not of the children of Israel, their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel also were not able utterly to destroy, upon those did Solomon levy a tribute of bond service unto this day. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers, and his chariots, and his horsemen. These were the chief of the officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, which bare rule over the people that wrought in the work. Okay. So Solomon's doing all of this great work, all of these building projects. It says 20 years. Because remember, it was 7 years for the temple, 13 years for his own house, for his own projects. And he's forcing the non-Israelites to work. Now, there were some of them when they came into the land that they did turn into bondmen or slaves. They made slaves of some of them when they conquered them. But there were many that in the law of Moses, it says not to do this. It says, you are strangers in Egypt, so don't make slaves of those who come to sojourn with you. The stranger has the same rights as an Israelite. And so I think we're again seeing some of the imprudence, some of the pride of Solomon. Remember, he didn't start off as a wise man. In chapter 3, we read how he started off as somewhat prideful and not really following God. But he turned to God when God blessed Israel, and he recognized the blessings. And now we're seeing him slowly slipping back into his old ways. And we see that, Egypt came and conquered the city of Gezer, and Pharaoh gave it as a present to his daughter, who had already married Solomon. They've now been married for over 20 years because they got married before Solomon started following God and before Solomon built the temple. So we're seeing how Solomon is slowly following, even though he was a wise man. He's been ruling now for a little over 20 years. And he started off wise. He was still a wise man when he started off. But he gained greater wisdom as he served God, and now he's starting to slip back into his old ways. But let us finish this. Verse 24. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of the city of David unto her house, which Solomon had built for her. Then did he build Milo. And 3 times in a year did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto the Lord. And he burnt incense upon the altar that was before the Lord. So he finished the house. And King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen, that had knowledge of the sea with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir, and fetched from thence gold 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon. So, a couple of things. First of all, the navy. This is down at the northern tip of the eastern branch of the Red Sea. And when it says he goes to Ophir, he built this navy, and it's not necessarily a military navy, but it's a merchant navy. And he sails to Ophir and trades, and he brings back all of the profits from it. So, but more to the point, what you really need to point out here. So he's the one actually doing the sacrifice. Now, it may be that he has the priest do it for him, but it says he's doing it. But his wife, the daughter of Pharaoh, his first wife, as far as we know, she leaves Jerusalem. She doesn't want to live among the Jews, among the Israelites who are worshiping God. She goes to her own house so that she can do her own thing. And that's going to be the final fall of Solomon, is going to be his wife, the daughter of Pharaoh. Because rather than, she's not converting to the house of Israel. She is remaining her old pagan self. That's why she's separating herself from Jerusalem. She's leaving because Jerusalem is where you worship God, and she doesn't want to worship God. But the next chapter will be 2 Chronicles chapter 8, which I believe covers basically the same thing as this chapter. So we will see you then.